As a Muslim woman, you have to know who are your Mahrams and what is the definition of Mahram. In Islam, a Mahram means a person whom a woman cannot marry and she relates with them differently compared to other men, like touching, like seeing, like dressing, and also traveling. She relates with them differently compared to other men in these four categories. And note, not every person that a woman cannot marry is a mahram. And we are going to discuss about that also. Scholars have categorized possible mahrams or people who can be a woman's mahram into at least 14 categories. At least 14 categories. And then they have divided these categories into three main groups. So these three main groups, through these three main groups, a person can become a woman's mahram. The first group is an-nasab, which is the bloodline or the lineage. Through the bloodline or the lineage, a man can become a woman's mahram. And there are 7 categories under the first group, which is the nasab, the bloodline. The first of them is the father. The father can be a woman's mahram, or a father is a woman's mahram. Were in Allah and above, meaning the father's father, the father's father's father, the great 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 grandfather, up to whoever is still alive, falls under the father. So the first among the 7 is the father. The second one is the son. If the woman has a son, the son is her mahram. The son can be her mahram at any time. Where in nazal, and even if the son has a son, in other words, a grandson or great 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 grandson, they all can be the woman's mahram. That is the second among the 7 of the first group. The third is the brother. The brother of the woman is also her mahram. The brother of the woman can also be her mahram. That is the third. Now, the fourth is the paternal uncle. Who is the paternal uncle? The father's brother. The father's brother can also be her mahram, the fourth among the 7. Now, the fifth is her maternal uncle as well. Who is her maternal uncle? That is her mother's brother. Her mother's brother can also be her mahram. Now, the sixth one is her brother's son. In other words, nephew. The 7th one, which is the last of the first group, is her sister's son, who is also called nephew as well. So her sister's son can also be her mahram. So these are the 7 categories which falls under the first group. So all of these 7, they relate with the woman through bloodline, through lineage. Now let's go to the second group. The second group is al-musahara, which is through marriage. Through marriage, a woman can gain additional mahrams. And there are only 3 categories which falls under this one. The first among the 3 categories whom a woman cannot marry through marriage is the father-in-law. If a woman gets married to a man, the man's father automatically becomes her mahram. In other words, she can travel with him. So the father-in-law becomes a woman's mahram, and he can never marry her whether his son is alive or dead or divorced. He can never marry the woman until the day of judgment. So the father-in-law becomes the mahram through marriage. The second of the 3 is the stepson. If the woman marries a man and then the man already has a son, the stepson also becomes a mahram to the woman automatically. He can never marry the mother, so far as there has been a consummation of the marriage. If there's no consummation, it's a different topic altogether. But if there's a consummation, the stepson can never marry the woman, and therefore the woman has become a mahram for him. Now, the last of the 3, which falls under the musahara or the second group, is daughter's husband. In other words, son-in-law. Now this one goes to the mother of the woman. If your daughter gets married to a man, that man also becomes a mahram to the wife's mother. And why is that? Because he's married to her daughter, and he can never marry the mother of his wife. And therefore, his wife's mother becomes a mahram, so far as the marriage is consummated. So these are the three categories that falls under the second group, which is the musahara. Now we are going to the third group. The third group is ar-rada'a. Through ar-rada'a, which is breastfeeding, a woman can gain additional mahrams. Now this is where it gets a little bit tricky. All those seven in the first group, which is the an-nasab, which is the lineage, they are the same compared to ar-rada'a, breastfeeding. And the Prophet ﷺ said, if a woman breastfeeds a girl or a child until she grows up, she relates with the woman just like her biological children. So in other words, all those seven that falls or who falls in the bloodline, if a woman breastfeeds a girl, she relates with them exactly like she is a biological daughter. And therefore the seven applies to her. It means the woman's children, she cannot marry. The woman's uncle, she cannot marry. The woman's brother, she cannot marry. So just like the seven that were mentioned earlier, they are the same compared to a woman or a child who was breastfed by that same woman. So in other words, we have additional seven. So these are the three groups: the bloodline, the marriage, and then the breastfeeding. That is ar-rada'a. So at least we have 17 of them here. Now note, there are some people whom a woman cannot marry, but at the same time, they are not her mahrams. The first one is a husband's brother. A husband's brother is not a mahram, even though the woman cannot marry him, so far as she is married to his brother. But the only reason or the only thing that is preventing the woman from marrying the brother is because of the brother who is married to her. If anything happens which causes them to separate, whether through death or divorce, the brother can marry the woman. So in other words, she is not allowed to marry him because of the existence of the brother. So she cannot marry him, but at the same time, he is not her mahram. That is the first one. Now, the second one is the woman's sister's husband. What do you mean by a woman's sister's husband? If your sister is married to a man, it doesn't mean that she or he is your mahram, even though he cannot marry two sisters at the same time. But the only thing that is preventing you both from getting married is because of the existence of her sister. So if anything happens which causes a divorce between the brother and then your sister, either death or through divorce, it means he can marry you as well. And therefore, he cannot marry you, but at the same time, you are not her mahram. You are not his mahram. So that is the second one. Because in Islam, it's not allowed for you to join two sisters at the same time. But once anything happens, whether through divorce or death, you can marry the second sister. But so far as the first sister is alive or is still married to you, you cannot marry the second one. So these are the three groups of at least the 14 categories of mahrams that a woman cannot marry. And I hope that I have delivered. May Allah Jalla forgive our shortcomings. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.